This morning, an end is finally in sight after the longest government shutdown in U.S. history. In a late-night Sunday session on Capitol Hill, just enough Democrats voted to advance a Republican bill that would extend funding for the government through the end of January.
Here are the two things that are on everyone's mind. One, what does this deal look like, since it's not going to be the clean CR that they have voted on 15 times in the Senate and the Democrats had objected to every time? And how quickly will the government be reopened? First, let's get to that deal. What does it look like? And as our director of government affairs reached out and told me this morning, he goes, it seems like the left held the American people hostage for 41 days and got nothing out of it. And in reality, it isn't the full year clean CR as they were trying to get. But all that they got, all that they caved to is that, one, it's a reopening of the entire government with a continuing resolution through January 31st. So there is a potential that another shutdown fight could approach us in just a few months.
60 days, yeah.
However, one, I don't know that the Democrats would try that again in a midterm election year. We'll be in 2026 by then. But
yeah, they got the political win, if you will. They
Sure.
got the political thing that they wanted, which was obviously what happened in the elections last week, and just pinning it on the Trump administration, whether you agree with that or not. Obviously, we do not. They seem to have won that PR war.
Right.
So do they want to try to do this again? Because clearly they see it's starting to hurt even themselves.
And then the other thing that, as far as the funding, is that three bills, they're calling them minibus instead of omnibus because it's just three departments, will get funding, a full appropriation through the end of the next fiscal year, which will be next November. So, and those are military construction and veterans affairs. So take care of our veterans. I think that's very important, especially with Veterans Day this week.
Everyone agrees with that.
The agriculture bill, which that includes farm programs, but also the FDA and SNAP.
Great.
So that won't be a political pawn, the people that need the SNAP benefits.
So even after the January,
Even if they were to shut down again.
Even during a government shutdown that could occur in 2026, this is covered at least through November.
Yes. So the
So it can't
SNAP
be an election
issue
issue.
will not be an issue for those that need it. They will not be used by the Democrats again in January if they decide to shut down the government again. And then the legislative branch, because of course they have to pay themselves, but that also is the staffers and the Capitol Police and things of that nature will also be funded the rest of the year, so the fiscal year, so through next November. So that's what is coming out of that. They also got the promise of a vote on those Obamacare subsidies that they had made this entire thing about in December. So they'll have debate on it, and they will see if it passes the Senate. That is something that they had been fighting for. They actually wanted it. Most of the senators wanted it in this spending package to go ahead and be voted on there, but they are being given a vote on that. But one thing I think that the majority of even on the right and things of that nature, they were making it not actually what it is. The way the left made it seem was as if this was a subsidies, all of the Obamacare subsidies. So basically gutting the program. No, all of the ones that are under the core Obamacare passed are still there and will remain there. These specific subsidies that they are wanting a vote on were emergency measures under the Biden administration during COVID to help lower healthcare costs even more because of the pandemic and crisis that was going on. Those were meant to expire. They were set up by the Biden administration to expire as an emergency measure. The Democrats are now making it seem as though this is the entire bill. They're trying to make everyone's healthcare go up and completely gut the Obamacare system. And that just isn't true. If you're a fan of Obamacare or not, you need to know what the reality of it is. Now, I also think that the Republicans didn't do a great job of messaging that either, because they did make it all about benefits for illegal aliens. And while there are parts of those subsidies that could benefit people and go to people that are here illegally, it also wasn't the full picture. And I think that it is important. And when you realize it was a temporary COVID measure, I think honestly it would have been a better selling point to most people of being like, It's not about the immigration issue. It's about something that is a relic from the COVID era that needs to expire. We know about that because we're fighting Gavin Newsom, who's still trying to find churches and take the tithes from people under COVID era restrictions. So I think that a full picture of that is also important when it goes forward. But the Democrats will get a vote on that next month. Now, I know you're begging to know, Logan. When's this thing going to pass? When is the government going to be open?
Today.
It all depends on...
I was being wishful thinking.
I mean, it can't be today no matter what. But they are going to hold a vote today for unanimous consent to limit debate and bypass a lot of the rules that go with legislation.
It can go faster than we anticipated.
Right. The Senate could theoretically pass their portion, and then it does have to go back to the House because they've changed the language. They could pass their portion tonight if they get unanimous consent. But all it takes is Bernie Sanders or Chris Murphy or Chuck Schumer, who's already under a lot of pressure, to deny that unanimous consent and make it force this into a longer protracted period. So either the Senate can get it out of their chamber tonight or not until like Sunday, because they have to have debate on each of these measures. There's going to be multiple 60-vote thresholds. So the rest of the senators are going to try to pressure those that went to the middle in this case. I mean, it's not like this is a Republican bill, so you can't really say they went to the right, but they went to the middle with common sense to try and end this madness. There's going to be a lot of pressure on them. So it will be interesting if they think it is smart to extend this, and then they 100% are the obstructionist. The Bernie Sanders, and if they don't give unanimous consent to condense this timeline down, then they are the ones that are causing this pain on the American people 100%. If they pass it tonight, the House should be back by Wednesday, and now we can only lose 2 Republicans if no Democrats join the vote.
Wednesday being the day before tomorrow, or day after tomorrow.
Day after tomorrow, they could be voting on final passage in the House if they shorten the timeline with unanimous consent today. If not, it's going into next week.
And Hakeem Jeffries was just on right now saying we're not going to really be supporting Republican bills. Of course, we know that they can't be trusted. All the kind of normal. I asked our team, should we play any of this? They said it's just the normal partisan politics that's been happening. And look, I think we all need to get over that side when it comes to people that are hurting. I was planning on coming on here today if there was nothing movement. If there was no movement, as I've seen it personally being affected so many people in our lives, whether that's through SNAP, whether that's the FAA, all the things that the big ones, if you will, that are starting to really affect people because it's beyond just a single measure, a single person or a group. We're seeing it really hurt. And, I was starting to want to call President Trump out and say, you know what? Be that hero, that king that they say you are. Get it done. If there's a way to get it done, forget about this stopping at the Supreme Court or going. I understand the legal sides of it and you want to do that. You know what? At this point, let's stop the bleeding. Stop the hurting.